So hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of Stronghold SHX, the road to $3.33. My name is CryptoBanker SHX. The date is the 17th of July. Where's the year gone? Wow. And today I'm going to be covering obviously all the latest news within the crypto markets, my opinions and views on things, as well as XRP, Stellar, Stronghold. And then we're going to focus primarily on Vello and something interesting that happened with Vello. It's like a year and a half ago now. So let's dive in. I'm just going to share my screen. 2 seconds. Here we are. Okay. So looking just at the market, we've had an increase in regards to Ether. We've seen XRP start to really move as well. Bitcoin's kind of just sort of sat exactly where it was. It hasn't really done anything. It's just sort of chopping. But as I say, like the things that are going to happen over the coming days and weeks should mean that, like I say, overall, we'll start to really see the continuation of things moving up. And as we look at Bitcoin dominance here on the weekly, we see that, as I say, it's going down and down and down and down. Today, we've had just recently, I think, yeah, at 8 o'clock, we've just seen a couple of hours ago, we've just seen a little bit of an increase. But when we zoom out on this, we see that it's crashing, right? And I think that once it hits around that 62.18, that's probably the key point here. And hopefully that should continue to go down while Bitcoin is going up. That's the perfect scenario. And the reason why Bitcoin dominance is so important is because that usually is the sign of alt season. And so when Bitcoin primarily loses dominance, you'll start to see actually certain digital assets behave in their own way, as opposed to being driven by Bitcoin going up and down. You will start to see things come to life, like and ignore what Bitcoin is doing. That's kind of like that is the best part when that begins. And as I say, Bitcoin's just chopping for the last 24 hours. I've seen a lot of people start to get excited about XRP, and rightly so. So today it's seen nearly a 10% increase. It hit just, what did it hit? Yeah, just around sort of 330, 33. Great number. So like I say, what will happen is as we progress, you're going to see a change and a shift whereby Bitcoin, regardless of what it does, it doesn't affect these other digital assets in regards to price, appreciation, and they all start to fire off. And like I've covered many times, if we look at Stellar and XRP, usually they follow the same big moves. Now, something that's very interesting and very exciting is Stronghold. And what Stronghold is doing currently is it is breaking out of its multi-year time frame. So I think it's based on 3 months. Here I have Chart Nerd. So please do follow Chart Nerd if you don't already. And he's seen the same thing. I think I put a post out this morning, so probably about 12 hours ago, something like that, saying today's the day. And other people then started to maybe see what I was seeing. And if this continues, then it will be incredibly bullish for SHX and Stronghold. And as I say, if you combined the potential of tier one listings for SHX, and then you understand that when XRP makes its big moves, Stellar makes its big moves, and SHX will ride that as well. We're kind of entering into unknown territory, and something that is incredibly bullish is here from Stronghold. So they've announced that they're going to be sponsor at the SALT conference 2025. which is great in itself. But then when you start to actually look and see who are the sponsors and who are Stronghold aligning themselves with, they're all key industry players. So if we look down here, we see the likes of Algorand, for example. I mean, Algorand's at like what, 2.5 billion market cap. You have the likes of Chainlink, Avalanche. Going down here, Galaxy have just IPO'd. Hedera, Kraken. We all know about Kraken. Paxos. I mean, these are multi-billion-pound projects. And what do we have sat amongst them? We have Stronghold. So it's only a matter of time before Stronghold catches up with its peers. And like I say, if you go on Sui, for example, again, all of these are apart from Casper, in the multi-billions in terms of market cap. So I think that that's a statement in itself. Why would a small startup from San Francisco be alongside all of these powerhouses? I like the fact that, I know it's in alphabetical order, but I like the fact that it's next to Stellar. The reason is because it will be a multi-billion-pound project. Of course it will be. I say that, obviously, everything I say on any live or any post, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But in my own personal opinion, I would say that is exactly where this is going. You don't, as I say, have a seat at the table with these people and don't have the, I suppose, the capabilities of sponsorship of this level unless you are a powerhouse as well. And so, as I say, the thing that's the two things that are lacking for Stronghold at the moment are regulations, which again, in 24 hours could be passed into law. It's looking that way. Trump has said that he's got everything that he needs for that. I've also heard there's going to be sort of like they do like a signing, like a show, don't they, with Trump signing things. So that will be tomorrow, I believe. And that will come into law. And the attention that that's going to get when regulation comes into crypto, and the attention that, you know, Bitcoin's going to get, the market's going to move, and it's going to move quite violently upwards. I think that obviously they play the games of the liquidity chasing, and they'll probably sweep before it goes up. But again, we're in interesting times whereby market makers can't manipulate as much as they would like to. So we'll see what happens. But this is the moment that everyone, I think, in crypto has been waiting for so many years. Like when I first got into crypto, I was an XRP maxi, and I would spend sort of 6-7 hours watching videos, various different videos every day, learning about XRP. And there was always talk about it back then. The regulations could come into play. Ripple could gift XRP to, say, Luxembourg, and therefore it would become a currency of its own. What were they going to do with escrow? All of these different things. But now, as I say, we're seeing it. And the US is such a key player. Everyone, I say everyone, some people, the dollar's going to die. America's going into recession. All of these things. You always hear these things, and there are cases for it. But at the moment, it reigns supreme. The US dollar. It is the world's reserve currency, and therefore the US is such an integral piece to all of this. The US and China, but primarily the US. And Stronghold is just sat there with all these industry giants waiting to be discovered, or waiting just to be switched on, to be honest. They've been super stealth for a reason. And when, like I say, the regulations come in, hopefully we're going to see all of the work that they've been doing over this past sort of seven. Well, it depends how you work it out, but officially for the last 7 years. Now, what I wanted to cover today is Vello. And this won't be the first time that I've covered Vello. I originally brought it to people's attention back in January of last year. And that was just before it became sort of quite cool to speak about it. There are various OGs that you should follow on X if you don't already. I will share them actually in a post after the show. But yeah, there are OGs there. The community is huge. Like the Vello community is active, and what happened is a lot of the people who were in Stronghold got into Vello as well, and the reason for that primarily is the connection of Stellar. So Stronghold is built on Stellar. It does have an Ether chain side chain that was just brought in 2019 to be able to do the DeFi pieces via the New Zealand branch of Stronghold as to sort of navigate around the US in terms of regulations. But Vello, as I say, is built on Stellar as well as Binance Chain. So you have those two main contracts. And the history behind it, I first found Vello back in 2021, and I think I purchased it for about 18 cents or something because it had just come out and it was dropping and dropping. But I looked into it then, and it really caught my attention because of Jed. So Jed McCaleb is heavily involved in Vello, as is David from Stellar as well. And so they have, in my eyes, they've replicated what they wanted to do in the US with Stronghold, and they've done it with Vello in Asia. So, like I say, you have XRP originally. They then, well, it was all of the money. They then realized that actually it's almost too much to take on. So, therefore, let's concentrate on the banks. Let's have Stellar as the retail. Then from retail, well, that's too much as well. They've got the US ACH network, and as everything's developing, it's like, right, okay, we need something separate, so we'll have Stronghold. And I think that's what's when they've looked at Asia in particular, they've said, well, we need a separate entity to this. We need a separate business to drive this. And Vello is the chosen project for that. And so when you start to look at the people behind Vello, and this is a post from myself from February last year, you start to realize that it's owned by what I would call the BlackRock of Southeast Asia. So the CP group own everything in specifically in Thailand. They own all of the 7-Elevens, all of the Lotuses, all of the macros. They actually own the largest mobile provider in Southeast Asia, True Corporation, which is a media powerhouse. And the CP groups 14 business groups across 21 countries. They have a turnover of 80 billion a year, and they employ just over 420,000 people. They also were the first business ever to be allowed to trade in China. So like outside of China, usually all of the businesses within China are Chinese, right? But they allow the CP group. So their business registration number in China is 0.00001. So they were the first. But what's even more intriguing is they control the food supply. So these people are very, very powerful, and they are part of one of the richest families in Thailand. So they have a huge amount of influence. And so when you're looking at Vello, and you look at sort of the partnerships that they have and who is involved in this, you begin to go down a rabbit hole, which, as I say, looks like a very serious contender to be moving vast amounts of money in the new financial system, which will be implemented globally. And this will be the key player within Asia. Now, I have lived in Thailand, and the road that I used to sort of down from where I used to live on, if you've ever seen those old cartoons where someone's running and it's the same things coming up in the background, like a tree and a house, and a fence or whatever, it's like that in Thailand. So if you go down the road, it's 7-Elevens, Lotuses, macros. If you go anywhere, it's True Corporation advertisements. Like these people have an insane amount of influence I would say more so because given the environment they operate in, it's quite old school in Southeast Asia. You shake your, it's a nod of the head and a shake of the hand, right? And so, like I say, these people are extremely powerful. It's no secret they're powerful. And just like Stronghold has that venture capital um, program in which venture capital firms can earn SHX through every dollar transacted on the network on Stronghold Net, Vello are in a position whereby they have a remittance network. And given the businesses that they own and are involved in when it comes to the CP group connection, it means that they don't really have to go out to tender. They don't need to look at technology providers. What they've done is they've decided, well, we own all of the shops, we own all of the media, we own all these businesses. We have such an influence. Why wait for someone to come along and do it, and then we have to use their tech and they're making money from it? How about we actually use our influence and just implement it into, say, for example, all the 7-Elevens? I mean, there's 13,000 stores just in Thailand. But then when you start to, as I say, understand the CP group's influence, it's not just Thailand, it's the whole of Southeast Asia, and in particular, China. And so when they're ready to go, you will see really sort of a wave of utility from Southeast Asia on Vello. And you've already started to see it in the volume that they're creating on Binance Exchange in Thailand. Now that volume's going through, that has gone through the roof recently. And what it means is that when you have that influence, you can really push people to use your crypto, right? You can say to them, you go in 7-Elevens every day, well, use this app. The thing about Southeast Asia is they're already very accustomed to using scanning codes and paying that way for things. And therefore, when you actually look at the point of sale, so the POS for Vello, Vello is already integrated within that POS system. So the retailers don't need to adapt anything to be able to start to utilize the Vello protocol, which is, as I say, very, very impressive. But also it means that I think these guys will pretty much have a sort of a monopoly as such, because their businesses aren't going to use anything else, really, are they? If they have something that is a digital currency, which is has utility and does everything, all of the benefits of blockchain, then they're going to push them to Vello. And if you look and see what the original description is on Stellar, on the Stellar network of Vello, it says that the Vello tokens act as a bridge asset, linking the value of traditional assets to digital credits pegged one-on-one with any fiat currency via the Vello protocol. And so again, it is going to be the liquidity tool for the network. The Vello, say it's a token, it's not really a token, is it? But Vello will be the, as they say, the liquidity tool for this network, and all the value will be running through that. And when you look at the partnerships that Vello have, when you look at the things that they're doing in Laos with gold and Sol and all of the various, I mean, they have, I've lost count of the amount of major partnerships these guys have been dropping. And it's all coming to play. And something very, very, very interesting last year happened, whereby we had some sort of mysterious figure. I called him sort of the Mr. Pool of Vello. But he literally, this person, I say he, it could have been a Miller, if you know, I'm not too sure. But they appeared out of nowhere for about 2 weeks and then just blended and left. They said they were going to come back when Vello hit all-time highs. But at the time, we're in crypto, right? People pop up and start claiming things and then disappear. But this person was called Saville Road. It was very intriguing. They only followed, I think, 10 people. I was one of them. Someone asked me if it was me. I could tell you it's not, and it wasn't. But they were dropping certain descriptions of things and real alpha out of nowhere. And this is before most, I would say, of the major partnerships have been announced recently, right? So here, they were dropping things of diagrams. Here we have global B2B, so business to business, trillions of dollars. And this is the flow in which it would go. So JP Morgan and Barclays is transfer made. You would then Lightnet, speaking to Lightnet, through to VELO protocol, through to Stellar, and back up again. They also were coming out with things about BRICS and saying that VELO was linked to BRICS, which again was very intriguing. And then they were saying that VELO was designed, is the only protocol that informs you of their asset collateralizing with fiat currencies and transporting that credit simultaneously along with commodities, along with lending, and along with real estate fractionalization. Now, again, it sounds really similar to what we've been hearing from Stronghold randomly about AI and property and insurance. And I think that, as I say, VELO is the Southeast Asian version of Stronghold. But this is again before Stronghold had even said anything, and before VELO had other major announcements. And they went on, like I said, to really make some really bold claims. And you'll see from here that it's like VELO, prompt pay, QR codes, Asian rails, Euro rails, no US dollars. And this person was really insinuating that one, VELO was going to be an absolute powerhouse within Southeast Asia and take over pretty much the systems that BRICS nations would use to circumvent the dollar in regards to any sanctions that would be potentially implemented on them. I can think of a couple at the moment. Not that it makes a difference, but there you go. And from that, they would then use VELO to bypass the US dollar and bypass those sanctions and bypass SWIFT, which would be, well, it is a massive market. And that all sounds quite, I don't know, at the time it seemed sort of pie in the sky a little bit. But now I don't think it does to most people. And it made sense to me. And that's, as I say, everything that person was saying, they disappeared after 2 weeks. No one's seen them since. There has been another account made, and it's a fake one, and it's not them. And people keep sharing it sometimes. And it's like, no. That guy was the original one and the only one. And like I say, they were dropping all this alpha, but at the same time, VELO backs it up with their actions. And they're very much like they haven't been held back because of the SEC in the US. So they've been a bit more bullish, and they've been a bit more forward as opposed to other projects. Now this is from January 2020, and if you look and you see VELO, it says it's a decentralized settlement bank. Now, why would it be saying that in 2020? It's because it is. Like, these, especially VELO and especially Stronghold, they're the new banks. They're going to become banks. It's the same as Coinbase. It's the same as these large exchanges. They're all going to become banks because they hold the value, right? And they're moving value. So then, as I said, they're new age banks, but they're decentralized, and they bring all of the benefits of speed, accuracy, transaction history. And so with Vello, it's just a case of really sitting back and watching them really do their thing. I think now, because they couldn't have done more in relation to partnerships. They couldn't have done more in relation to announcements. They do have a head start on SHX because they're on pretty much every major exchange, Vello now. I think apart from Coinbase and Binance. And they also have, like you can see, their hybrid DEX, and that's just hit 1 billion in USDV value. Now, USDV is their stable coin. It's their own stable coin. They built that with BlackRock on BlackRock's network. So it meets all of the regulatory and compliance qualifications that you would need to be able to have a stable coin. But again, that's insanely bullish that, as I say, they have the USDV. And they've made it so it won't depeg, because obviously we've seen that happen before with certain projects. So they're actually guaranteeing the collateral behind Vello. And that is the same principle when it comes to their remittance network. So say, for example, you're a business and you want to send another business 20 million, and you want to do it through the Vello protocol remittance network. Then it will actually require a certain amount of Vello tokens to be locked up to ensure that that transaction goes through. It's a second layer of collateral, really. And that means that there will be some sort of supply shock potentially with Vello, because as these institutions start to begin to use the network and the Vello protocol, having been told to probably or maybe just pushed in the right direction by the CP group, what's going to happen is these institutions are going to be sending vast amounts of money across the network potentially, right? And so they will have to, by the rules of the network, have a certain amount of Vello locked up to be able to guarantee and have that collateral, right? So that means that these institutions will be locking up their Vello, as well as other people who are holders potentially locking up in DeFi. They have, I think, a 40% APR at the moment for people to lock up their Vello. And I think the cutoff, I think it's about 1.1 billion. Now, there's only 7.5 billion in supply, or 7.4 circulating. There's a max supply of, I believe. And so when you then look at what Binance own on chain, and they've been acquiring Vello for the last 2 years now, I think, they hold over a billion, I think maybe 2 billion now. It keeps going up. They keep buying hundreds of millions. There will be, when this is turned on, this system, again, a supply shock, because a lot of the Vello tokens will have to be locked within the network to be able to achieve what people want to do with it. And therefore, like I say, when that happens, then a lot of the Vello, a lot of the supply will already be locked within the system, within the network. And therefore, in regards to price appreciation, well, they're coming out and saying that they want Vello, and Vello accelerates its strategic transformation to become Asia's $1 trillion liquidity infrastructure by 2030. So we have Coinbase saying that they want to be the leading financial app by 2030. We have Vello coming out and say they're on their way strategically to become Asia's $1 trillion liquidity infrastructure by 2030. Dollar infrastructure without having significant impact on the price. The rule of thumb is that the market cap should be at least 10 to 100 times the desired liquidity level, which then ensures that the market can absorb, right, the large transactions without any extreme price volatility. Because when these networks are fully functional, they're not going to be as volatile as we've seen it. We see the volatility because we're so early to an asset class. That's why you see the level of volatility that you do. But when these networks are fully functional and they have various assets tied to them, and they're moving various different levels and types of assets across a multitude of transactions, it means that it's going to be a more a steadier price, should I say. And like by 2030, if they want to be Asia's 1 trillion liquidity infrastructure, then it mathematically they have to be around sort of the 10 trillion mark, which people are calling for a Bitcoin at 150,000. That's, I think, about 5 trillion, right? So really, is 10 trillion by 2030 unrealistic? I don't think so. I really don't. But that's my own personal opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is financial advice. But it is very exciting times for Vello. And it is very interesting that they have built upon Stellar and you have Jed McCaleb involved. Do I think that Vello has an opportunity, or does it fit the criteria of potentially being on X money? 100%. It already has all of the benefits that you would want from a crypto, and as I say, it has an active DeFi program for holders, for all holders, not just a selected few. And when you really dive into the partnerships they have, the work they've been doing, and like I say, they haven't been held back in regards to sharing because they're in a different jurisdiction. They can kind of do what they want, right, within their own location, which means that they've been more forthcoming in regards to sharing certain things. But these guys are definitely serious. And when you realize again the people that are behind them, this has been a plan decided way before now, as opposed to what is going to happen. And I'll share this, and I'll end with this, because this is a post from myself back in October of last year, and this is really just sort of laying it out for you. And this is the plan, right? This is what has been decided. And when I posted this, some people were saying that's wrong, it's not going to happen, blah blah blah. But as time progresses, we see that it is, and it's really a case now of just waiting. I think that when the Genius Act passes, given the things that have been happening with Elon recently, they're really keen to push out X payments, obviously, because that's a game changer. So I think that once they have that legislation and it becomes law, what I believe, although we might see short-term sort of sell the event because of the market makers doing their thing, right? I do believe that there's going to be very quick movement on X payments. They already have the majority of the money transmitter licenses within the different states of the USA to be able to operate, but that's key, that law, when it comes to the Genius Act. And you know what's going to happen when X payments launches. Like, the amount of attention that crypto will get, it's already got an increased amount of attention, but that will be the point in which is undeniable. And yeah, I think that it's just going to bring a huge amount of volume and a huge amount of interest to the marketplace. That's been episode 4. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you found it insightful. Thank you so much to everyone who's joining live. Like, we have over 567 people listening on X alone. I will be back tomorrow with episode 5. Did I say episode 5? Yeah, episode 5 tomorrow. Please, again, do drop your comments in regards to any projects that you'd like me to cover. Just in a conclusion of Vello, like, it's a huge powerhouse. I would just compare it as the SHX of Asia. They say they're the XRP of Asia. That rubs up people the wrong way. I can't imagine why. But they are here to stay. And in my opinion, they're going to be, yeah, a huge player within this space, and again, alongside Stronghold, probably, you know, a future top 10, top 20 crypto. And that's it. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. If you've liked the show, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, because yeah, it's literally happening now. I'll see you on the next one.